Welcome to the Further Light Podcast, brought to you and presented by Wisconsin Freemasonry, helping you accomplish your Masonic goals through education and more light. And now, I introduce to you Brother Chris Ludke.
This is Brother Chris Lidke, and today I want to explore astronomy, the last of the 7 liberal arts. Now, essentially, classical astronomy is the visual observation of the motions of the celestial bodies, the simple act of studying the cycles of the sun, the moon, and the stars with our unaided eyes. In contrast, modern astronomy is largely an activity of professional scientists and based on measurements taken from telescopes and other artificial instruments, some terrestrial, and some, like Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescope, well, out there. With classical astronomy, we can learn useful and practical skills, such as how to tell time and navigate by the sky. Astronomy is the practical application of mathematics and geometry to everything beyond the terrestrial sphere. So what am I doing here? I want to explore the history and role of astronomy in the ancient and medieval world before turning to its importance today and role in Masonry. And along the way, we're going to have to deal with astrology and some other ideas that really have some interplay so that you understand where this is coming from. But as always, we start with a definition. What is astronomy? Well, according to William Preston, astronomy is that art by which we are taught to read the wonderful works of the Almighty Creator in those sacred pages, the celestial hemisphere. Assisted by astronomy, we observe the motions, measure the distances, comprehend the magnitudes, and calculate the periods and eclipses of the heavenly bodies. By it, we learn the use of the globes, the system of the world, and the primary laws of nature, here referring to what we would today call physics. While we are employed in the study of this science, we perceive unparalleled instances of wisdom and goodness, and through the whole of creation, trace the glorious author by his works. Again, this idea of science proving faith. And this is William Preston writing in the early 19th century, near about 200 years ago. So he's looking forward pretty well. So what is astronomy today? A dictionary will tell you it's a branch of science that deals with celestial objects, space, and the physical universe as a whole. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe that's beyond our own planet's atmosphere. The planets in our own solar system, our own star, the sun, and the bright stars can all be seen, of course, with the naked eye. However, astronomy can go much deeper, taking advantage of telescopes and other scientific instruments of the modern age to study other stars, their planets in our galaxy, as well as distant galaxies beyond our own. It can gather clues about the nature of physical, chemical, and biological elements within the universe. Let's talk about the history of astronomy here. In the early days and really early nights, indigenous cultures around the world have long performed astronomical observation, generally with the naked eye, frequently spotting stars, planets, and other celestial phenomena. These communities often use their knowledge of astronomy for practical reasons. And here I want to look at a few. Navigation. At night, you can navigate by the stars, the North Star, the Southern Cross, etc. But also during the day, you can use the sun as a basis for navigation, especially when you get out away from the coastlines. We can use it for timekeeping. In this case, think along the lines of calendars, but also time of day. The sun at meridian height, for example, being noon. They can use it for agricultural planning. So this way, if the temperatures suddenly warm up and everyone kind of goes crazy for that in February or March, they know, hey, let's not plant our crops now, because if we do, we're going to use up all the seed that we have and we're going to starve to death because it will die in April when there's another frost. something very, very important to them. They would use it for spiritual and religious practices, and it would give them a closer look at the heavens. To them, to most cultures, this was a reflection of the attitudes of their gods. Ancient astronomers from around the world made many early observations and predictions. Historical records include many star charts which reveal clear efforts to map the night sky and learn more about the mechanics of our universe. Some examples of early discoveries include planets versus stars. Babylonian astronomers in the 1st and 2nd millennia BCE tracked 5 points of light in the night sky that moved differently than all the other stars. They concluded that something fundamentally different existed. These 5 points of light must not be stars because they seem to move across the background of the stars. Historians and astronomers now believe the Babylonians were among the first to recognize the planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which become visible to the naked eye at different times of the year. We also get the idea of a spherical Earth, because any group who has gone out to sea, for example, knows the Earth is spherical. Once you get past the coastline, you'll notice that coastlines and other things rise up from the horizon. They don't start tiny and get larger, which is what you would expect on a flat Earth. As early as the 6th century BCE, ancient Greek philosophers documented evidence that the Earth was a sphere, although going back to the Sumerians, they were aware of it. These philosophers were even able to calculate the circumference of the Earth within 10%. They did this by measuring the length of a shadow cast by an object at exactly the same time in 2 different locations. Taking into account the distance between those locations and the difference in the length of shadow, they calculated that Earth's circumference was about 46,250 kilometers. The real value being 40,075 kilometers, so they're very, very close. But this leads us to the question of astrology, because early astronomy and astrology actually do mix, and astrology will first show up from the Zoroastrians, and it doesn't start as the study of stars related to whether you're going to have a good day. It's something a little different. In the ancient world, astrology and astronomy are the same discipline. Many political elites would have hired professional astrologers and skywatchers to monitor and catalog the motions of the sun, moon, and 5 visible planets. To do this, they established a sort of celestial map based on the sun's apparent path in the sky. They called this path the ecliptic, and then referred to the sky extending above and below that imaginary line as the zodiac. As the sun followed the ecliptic over the course of a year, it moved through 13 constellations, 12 of which formed the signs of the zodiac. When the position of the sun signified a particular sign, forecasts could be made, and more importantly, they would recommend certain activities. In medieval art, for example, we see the 12 signs of the zodiac appearing alongside another cycle of 12 images known as the labors of the months. Again, this is the zodiac and astronomy, in the form of astrology, being used as a calendar. These activities or tasks were associated with each month of the year and were sometimes loosely related to the agricultural cycle. Unlike the zodiac, there is no official list of labors of the months. It would have changed from place to place because, of course, you have local traditions, difference in climates, and growing seasons. The signs of the zodiac and the labors of the months represent the celestial and terrestrial cycles that govern the medieval year. So in the medieval world, you use astrology to determine what you're supposed to be doing at that time. It acts as a calendar. Why astrology? Not only because of its symbolism used in the form of the zodiac, so in other words, I can create a calendar that makes sense to people, but it's something that even a simple farmer can learn how to use. Where is the sun in the ecliptic? Where is it in terms of constellations? And now I know that it's too early to plant, or hey, I'm going to be harvesting very shortly, or whatever else I need to know. It also helps with religious cycles and understandings of the year as it passes. In a time before accurate calendars and weather prediction technology, observing the movement of the heavens was the best way to anticipate seasonal changes, as necessary for successful agriculture. So, why is astronomy important? Well, now as our understanding of the world progresses, we find ourselves and our views of the world more intertwined with the stars, not less. The discovery that the basic elements that we find in stars and the gas and dust around them are the same elements that make up our body have further deepened the connection between us and the cosmos. What I'm getting at is once you get past very basic elements, such as hydrogen and helium, everything else comes from stars. Primarily when they explode or when they off-gas, they send that out into the universe. Almost everything you see looking around you that isn't made of hydrogen or helium started in the core of a star, core of a dying star, all the way up to iron and beyond. So, in a very real way, we are stardust. By studying astronomy, we are also, in a way, studying ourselves. This connection touches our lives, and the awe it inspires is perhaps the reason that beautiful images of astronomy provide us with, the beautiful images astronomy provides us with are so popular in today's culture. There's still many unanswered questions in astronomy. Current research, for example, is looking at how old we are. What's the fate of the universe? And perhaps the most interesting, how unique is the universe? And could a slightly different version of the universe have supported life? But astronomy is also breaking new records every day, establishing further distances, most massive objects, highest temperatures, and most violent explosions. Pursuing these questions is a fundamental part of being human. We ask questions, we are rational. Yet in today's world, it has become increasingly important to be able to justify the pursuit of the answers. The difficulty in describing the importance of astronomy and the fundamental research in general are well summarized in the following. Quote, "Preserving knowledge is easy. Transferring knowledge is also easy. But making new knowledge is neither easy nor profitable in the short term. Fundamental research proves profitable in the long run, and, as importantly, it is a force that enriches the culture of any society with reason and basic truth." This by Ahmed Zewaili, winner of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1999. Perhaps when interpreting the importance of astronomy as a liberal art, it is best understood as a representation of the discovery and advancement of knowledge. Now, that's going to be important. When we look at astronomy, it's almost like graduate school. We start out with the basics and the trivium, how to think, how to look at knowledge. Then we get to the quadrivium and we start to gain knowledge. And astronomy is almost pushing us to create knowledge. So we've moved from understanding to collecting to creating. Now, in terms of Freemasonry, it's a little different. Somewhat. If geometry is tied through measurement to the observation of the objective and the true, i.e. science, then astronomy, as understood in the Enlightenment, becomes a contemplation of those things beyond. We will never touch another planet or observe the effects of a black hole with our own eyes, hopefully. If you do, you're probably in trouble. Therefore, astronomy is taking the lessons of the previous 6 liberal arts and throwing them to the unknown. Astronomy is at the root of many of our rituals, observing the sun, the celestial globe, the starry-decked heavens. The observation of the stars allowed ancient societies to navigate, farm, and function. Today, we're encouraged to study astronomy as an exercise in understanding our place within it, our relationship to it, and our Creator. Astronomy demands we consider those things far bigger than ourselves, those things that we cannot currently observe. Here we must contemplate the very nature of creation itself. Only through self-improvement and education can we understand ourselves sufficiently to then begin to comprehend the celestial mysteries above. And only astronomy, symbolizing the unknown, can push us beyond the simple comprehension of human knowledge to the discovery and development of new knowledge. Improving ourselves should therefore improve mankind. You can also look at it another way. In some traditions, such as the deist tradition, the idea is that a supreme being set the rules in motion, the rules being the laws of physics, the laws of chemistry, the things that create the universe, the things that, had they been tweaked, might prevent any kind of life at all. And maybe, if you believe that that is all created by a deity, maybe by studying that creation, not just through geometry, but also through astronomy, we can gain better understanding of deity, but also of ourselves and our role within the universe. Ultimately, it makes us feel small, and sometimes that's a good thing. So let's kind of tie this up. Thus, the quadrivium ends. The question was posed, should Freemasons really learn the liberal arts? And the answer, to me at least, should be obvious. Not only should we learn the liberal arts individually, but understand their context in the whole of being educated about the natural world. Human beings can be taught easily to survive. However, we do not simply pick up how to thrive, how to generate ideas, or how to create a better world. In Masonry, the 7 liberal arts are encouraging us to improve ourselves mentally, to study the world around us, to study our own minds, our own thoughts, how to think, how to react, and how nature works. At the end of the day, that is going to be incredibly important, especially when all of these things are being laid out in the 17th, 18th, 19th century, when this form of education may not exist. This is the ultimate form of taking a good man and making him better. Not saying that you need to study these 7 liberal arts, but that you do need to go out and study, read, learn, be curious, and explore.
Are you interested in learning more about Freemasonry in Wisconsin? Visit wisconsinmasons.org. That's WIMasons.org to learn more about Masonry and access further educational content and further light in Masonry. Thank you for listening.